You are listening to Part 15 of the 7 Medicines, The Wise Woman Way with Susan Wade at Time Monk Radio. Hello, Susan. Welcome back to Time Monk Radio.
Hi, Gemini. I hope you didn't break any crystals this week.
I did not, no.
I have always had a very profound body energy, and other energetic things like electrical systems often react quite strongly to my body's electrical field. That's part of the reasons why this third medicine, energy medicine, is so fascinating to me, because it's not been something that I can ignore. It's always been very vivid and very real and definitely part of me. But let's move on a little bit, because there's also those who really like words. And hey, I like words too, being an author. And when it comes to words and this kind of medicine, mind medicine here, then what we're talking about could very roughly be lumped into a big basket called prayer. And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who is not a very sentimental woman at all, called it bargaining rather than prayer. Kind of, I'll do this if you'll do that. I have a friend named Marie, because her mom went to church and said, "Blessed Virgin Mary, if you'll let me get pregnant, I will name my child after you, Marie or Mario." And we know that this is not one woman who has done this. We can see by how many Maries and Marios there are, but there's a great many women who are out there bargaining. That in a way, prayer is a form of bargaining, even if we don't necessarily think of it as that. And I'm sure those who are saying, no, wait. You can't just put everything into a big basket, lumped prayer, and then say it's bargaining. And you're right. I can't. We can really pull out very different aspects of this. And one of the easiest aspects for us to pull out is called affirmation. An affirmation is a simple statement, and it should ideally consist of 2 or 3 words. And it should help you focus some quality of yourself. So if you find yourself continually shrinking back from new things, people go, "Oh, let's go water skiing," and you go, "Oh, I don't think so." Then your affirmation might be, I find my courage. It might be too hard to say, "I am courageous," because you might follow that with, "Oh, yeah, right." But I find my courage. Now, that's a doable affirmation. It sets us on the path of being able to be what we affirm that we are. Now, it's somewhat tricky bit of business here in mind medicine, isn't it? But we are what we affirm ourselves to be, and yet how very, very true it is. One of my teachers is very fond of telling the story of Carl Jung. And Carl was in some kind of scuffle with another youngster and was pushed down and hit his head. And his father was worried that Carl might have a concussion, and so didn't make Carl go to school. Carl didn't like going to school, so he thought, I'm going to play this for all it's worth. And so I was like, he just couldn't go to school, and he couldn't learn, and his brain, da-da-da. And one day, he was playing on the other side of a hedge, and his father was talking to another adult on the other side of the hedge and saying, "I don't know what's going to become of poor Carl. He'll never get through school. He'll never have a career. He won't be able," and so on and so forth. And Carl thought, "Oh, my gosh, what? He doesn't know I'm just playing." And he decided that he would stop, and he found that he couldn't. That he had pretended to be someone who was so adult that he had indeed become that person that he had pretended to be. So we can use this to pretend to be people we want to be. I know for me, one of the major disasters of my life left me really, really upset upset and crying and everything for 4 years. One of the deepest parts of my life, the part where I was the most miserable, I was there for 4 years, and I kept saying, I want it out, and I just couldn't find the way out. And finally someone said to me, smile. And I glared at them and said, I have nothing to smile about. And they said, that's why you have to do it. And that was my turnaround. I wanted to be happy. I had to smile. I had to be the person I wanted to be. That's what an affirmation is. I am in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. Now, that certainly goes way beyond our workout, and yet it is one of the classics of affirmation. If we all every day said, I am in the right place at the right time doing exactly the right thing, then we would be, as the Buddhists call for us to be, in right relationship with ourselves and everything in our life. I deserve to breathe. It's an affirmation I have given almost every person that I've worked with who has breathing difficulties. I ask them to write this affirmation, I deserve to breathe, on note cards or slips of paper, and to put them everywhere. Tape one on your toothbrush handle, put one on your mirror, put one on the dashboard of your car, put it on your briefcase, slip one in your sock drawer, put one in the refrigerator so that everywhere around you throughout the day you see the affirmation, I deserve to breathe. I deserve to breathe. Affirmations can change our stories. This is a medicine that moves back into the medicine before it and gives us the ability to change our story, to really write our own story, to affirm what it is that we are going and want to be. Now, one of the things I often say to my students is, you must be careful with your affirmations. They need to be more general than specific. And we've talked about this a little bit before. So we don't want to say in an affirmation, $1 million check on green paper is coming to me tomorrow. Far too specific. The universe simply cannot get it together to satisfy your whim. Now it begins to sound like a bargain, even if you're not offering anything on your end of the bargain. Instead, we affirm, I live in great abundance. When we say, I am going to, or this is going to happen, we're not in the moment, we're in the future. Affirmations are about being in the moment. So we don't use any future tense when we make an affirmation. An affirmation is always present tense. I deserve to breathe. I am in the right place at the right moment doing the right thing. I am a blessed child of the universe. I live in abundance. These are affirmations. They are in the present. They certainly, shall we say, have the lovely, holy smell of mantra. Mantra is not necessarily as mental as an affirmation. An affirmation really seeks to work with the word part of the brain and to change story, to change the words we say to ourselves about ourselves. Whereas mantra, it can be meaningless. It can be om. It can be om mani padme hum. It can be tare tu tare. These are sounds, and they help our brains to become rhythmical. Mantra and chanting mantra is certainly something that is part of our medicines. Are they vibrational medicine? Are they lifestyle medicine? Not exactly sure, but affirmation is different than mantra. Affirmation is about actually putting yourself in the present and telling yourself how it is that you, not how you're going to be, but how you are right now. So not, I'm going to lose weight, but I enjoy the body I live in. We can all enjoy the body we live in, And if we're really enjoying the body we live in, we might find it more enjoyable to exercise and more enjoyable to eat healthily. And as a side product of that, we might indeed lose weight. But we're not projecting it into the future with an affirmation. We are simply being in the present as joyously as we possibly can. A visualization is a more complicated affirmation, shall we say, or it's an affirmation with a whole story attached to it. So I went to a workshop about shamanic methods of increasing longevity. And one of the shamanic methods of increasing longevity was a shamanic journey. And shamanic journeys and shamanic trances are a variety of visualization. It's a shamanic journey to the source of all being, the wellspring of all, the great energy source from which all things arise. So our affirmation is very simple. I am part of the great energy of all. If we want to make that a visualization, we say, and I'm going to go immerse myself in a well from which this great all comes. And now a story begins to unwind. In a classic visualization, the visualizers, or those who are going on the journey, are led through a series of maneuvers to change the vibrational state of the brain. When I lead trance journeys visualizations for people, I have them imagine that they are standing in a very large quartz crystal, one large enough to not only contain them, but to contain a spiral staircase. And they move from one end of that spiral staircase to the other end to find themselves in their magical garden. I do this by counting, and when we end our trance, our visualization, we count the opposite way and go the opposite way on that spiral staircase. When we come to our magical garden, there are workings that can be done there in light trance states. It's very easy to do a variety of different workings there in one's magical garden. And if one wants to delve deeper, then there are a variety of ways to do that. One of my favorite is to have people find a tree, sit by the tree, and to have them slip into the roots of the tree and to travel to where they want to go. But another very classical way is to have them go to a body of water and to have a boat approach. And a guide is bringing that boat, and you get into the boat, and the guide takes you deeper into that trance state, deeper into that visualization. And there again, we have the ability to rewrite our own lives, to change the very nature of the way that we think about ourselves and the way that we think about life. These are the realms where miracles are ordinary. These are the realms where spontaneous cures are the most obvious cures of all. Of course, cures are spontaneous, aren't they? Why do we think that anything we do actually causes the cure? No, it is our own wisdom that is causing that. So these kinds of things bring us as well to the direct shamanic tools for healing. There's a new book out by Albert Villoldo, one of the classics in the shamanic healing field. He is a psychologist, medical anthropologist, and he has studied the healing practices of the Amazon and Inca shamans for more than a quarter centuries. He has trained hundreds and hundreds of people in shamanic arts. And his new book is A Shaman's Miraculous Tools for Healing. You want to know more about the kinds of things we're talking about tonight, that would be a really fun resource for you. I also was just introduced to a new book called The Healing Effects of Energy Medicine, The Memoirs of a Medical Intuitive by Shannon McRae. And it has certainly, triggered in me, yet another thing I haven't talked about, which is medical intuitives, which are certainly part of our third river here. And many times, medical intuitives are able to intuit or to tell you what is going on with yourself through a process of visualization. The last medical intuitive that I met, I asked her if she needed to do it in person, if she could do it over the telephone. She said, well, of course I can do it over the telephone. It's not as though I need to touch the person or even see the person, because I visualize the energy body of the person. And all I need to do is to have them on the other end of the phone or to hear their voice. And I can use that as a bridge to move into the energy body of the person and to visualize what it is that I need to see and to know about what's going on with that person. So these visualizations can be for ourselves, to help ourselves do particular things, change particular things in ways that we are crafting, but they are also used by energetic healers. Many times people who do energetic work while they're doing massage, and massage, of course, is in alternative medicine, it's our fifth river, say that what is happening while they're massaging people is that they are seeing a flow of colors, a flow of energy, feeling a vibration, feeling temperature changes as they are touching people. And I call these visualizations. Some people might call them hallucinations or imaginations, but what sets them apart from that is that hallucinations or imaginations tend to be rather wild and rather exotic, and people who do visualizations tend to create a pattern. One of the ways that I was taught to be a medical intuitive, I'm not particularly medically intuitive, but my teachers believe that we all are, and I can certainly see that. Certainly I can medically intuit about people when I put myself to it, but it's not something that really pulls me. But the idea of that is to pick an object, any object that you want to be your ally. You could pick a rose. You could pick a specific seashell. You could pick whatever appeals to you. And then when you're doing a psychic diagnosis, you simply visualize the person you're doing the diagnosis for as your sacred diagnostic object. So if we've chosen as our diagnostic object a rose, and this person on the other end of the telephone says, I have this problem, I envision that person as a rose. Are they a long-stemmed rose? Are they a climbing rose? Are they a shrub rose? Are they a miniature rose? Are they a red rose? Are they a yellow rose? Are they a white rose? Are they a reblooming rose? Are they a multiflora rose? Are they a wild rose? There's so many nuances that I get by holding my visualization object stable and letting then the individual show me themselves through that object, that you begin to see how visualization is not a hallucination. Are we making it up? We certainly might be making it up. After all, we're in the third river here. We're in the realm of the shaman. We're playing around with affirmation and visualization and prayer. Larry Dawsey, MD, is a great proponent for prayer as a healing medicine. he doesn't necessarily feel that you have to pray to somebody or that it has to be, as they say, denominational. He just thinks that prayer activates healing energy. And I agree. We don't have to use that word prayer. If you're comfortable with it, use it. If you're uncomfortable with it, use any of the other words that I've been giving you. Affirmation, visualization, intention. All ways to help ourselves visualize. Now, I want to tell you the most wonderful visualization that I ever heard in my life. And it came along with an affirmation. My friend Penny was working at a job she truly hated and living in a place she hated even more. And her husband didn't like either the place or the job he was working one bit better. And they spent all of their free time talking about how they could get out of town, and they just couldn't see any way clear because they were just living paycheck to paycheck. And then someone came and visited Penny and said, well, haven't you ever done a visualization? And Penny said, what's a visualization? And the woman said, you have to visualize exactly what it is you want. And Penny said, what do you mean? I want to get out of town. She said, no. Get out of town. That's not specific enough yet. Where do you want to go? This is the country. Okay. What do you want in the country? I want a house in the country. All right, says her friend. Is your house in the country in a neighborhood? No, says Penny. My house in the country is at the end of a dead-end road. Now we're getting better, says her friend. What else is there at your house? Well, says Penny, there's a pond at my house. Okay, says her friend. You're living in the country at a house at the end of a dead-end road, and there's a pond. That's good. And Penny says, and there are horses. Her friend said, good. And there's horses, and says Penny, there's a huge flower garden, and there's a huge vegetable garden, and there's chickens. And her friend's going, wow, you're really getting into this, Penny. Penny says, yes, and not only that, I'm getting paid to live there. And her friend started laughing and said, you're a very fast learner. And Penny said, this is crazy. And her friend said, wait and see, Penny. Just wait and see. You've put this out into the universe. You keep repeating this to yourself. You keep visualizing yourself in this house at the end of the dead-end road. There's a big flower garden. There's a vegetable garden. There's chickens. There's horses. There's a pond. And you're getting paid to be there. Yes, and there's a car and a truck too, says Penny. Sure, and there's a car and a truck too, says her friend. 2 weeks later, another friend calls up Penny and says, Penny, there's somebody here who's looking to, well, they've just bought a place in the country, and they want to pay somebody to caretake it and grow organic produce for them. Could you get an airplane and come now to Manhattan to meet these people? And because Penny knew what was going on, she said yes. And she got on that airplane, and she flew to Manhattan, where she met with Yoko Ono and John Lennon, who had just bought a place upstate New York, 150 acres at the end of a dead-end road with a pond, beautiful house, and they wanted her to grow organic vegetables for them and organic eggs, please, and to bring it to them every week in the city, and they'd be happy to pay her to be there. That's a visualization.
That's incredible.
Yeah, well, the other end of it is kind of incredible, too, because as we know, John was shot.
Right.
And Yoko closed the house in the country. Penny got like a week's notice.
Oh.
I don't blame her. The grief must have been just outrageous.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And Penny said, oh, gee, and I wasn't envisioning the next thing. Because we don't, do we?
Mm-mm.
So visualization is a really interesting way to craft our life. Prayer, if that's how we think about it, if it's not a bargain, because Elizabeth Kubler-Ross taught us that bargains don't work, if it's really a prayer, and what Jean Houston taught us is the best way to prayer is through praise. So we don't say, oh, wow, thing that I'm praying to, give me this. We say, oh, wow, thing that I'm praying to you because you are the cat's pajamas. You're the best thing. Woo-hoo. You are what I imagine as the glory of all existence. And so I'm setting my mind on you. And isn't that, after all, a visualization and an affirmation and a carrying of ourselves to where it is that we want to be? And thus we get to spells, ritual, ceremony, talismans, The great thing about all of these things is that they are combination. You don't usually just do one thing when you do a spell. When you do a spell, there's color, there's candles, there's music, there's affirmations, there's visualizations, there's prayer. So that spell or that ceremony or that ritual begins to bring into it many of the things that we have been talking about, so that they come together in an orchestrated way. I think about a Hopi medicine way in which there are forms, there are colors, there are sounds, there are rhythms, there are prayers, there are stories, there is community participation. We get the whole thing all at once in what the shaman hopes is an overwhelming tsunami that knocks you out of the world you're inhabiting and into the one you wish to inhabit. Shamanic ceremonies to help people with post-traumatic stress disorder are designed to knock that person out of the world they were knocked into, because they were knocked into a world of fear by an event that struck them on all senses at once and triggered a fear of death. And so the shamanic ceremony, the shamanic ritual, in a very real way, must also, to be effective, be as loud, as forceful, and as scary as the original event to allow us to change that. I've been reading about environmental sensitivities, and they talk about the switch that is flipped, and that there is literally a switch in the brain that reaches a breaking point just like a circuit breaker, and it's flipped, and that circuit breaker is burned out, and we can no longer tolerate chemicals. It's a physical switch, like a physical switch of post-traumatic stress disorder, and the shamanic ability to work through the mind, through the face, through the energy, through the vibration, to create such a huge energy field by working with all of these things at once allows us to go in there and flip that circuit breaker back, change the circuit breaker, flip that trauma back. The trauma of our birth, the trauma of our loss, the trauma of our life. These are things that drugs and surgery can only palliate. These are things that words can only do so much about. We enter the third medicine looking around at all the different things, and we leave the realm of a third medicine, bells on our feet, dancing up a storm, hooting and hollering and burning and banging and bringing it all together in a huge, powerful Notre Dame of sound and sight and smell. And a talisman is a little piece of that we can wear ourselves. A talisman is a little medicine bag. A talisman is a little something, perhaps given to us by someone we care about, perhaps several things given to us by different people that we care about, so that we know that we are a blessed child of the universe, that we are in the right place at the right time doing the right thing, and we are safe and protected. Hopefully it's enough to make you smile. Do you have any favorite affirmations, Gemini?
I typically like one, I am well. I don't know why. That's just always resonated with me.
It's so perfect because it's simple and it doesn't say how you're well. It's simply that you are well. One of the affirmations I used when I hurt my wrist in January was, I heal rapidly and well.
Oh, yeah, that's good too.
Right? Oh, oops, I busted something. I heal rapidly and well. Go to body, I heal rapidly and well. All right? So it's much easier than most of us think to create the life we truly want. And next week, we're going to jump, dive, splash around in plant intelligence and see what we can find out.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Green blessings.
Thank you, Susan. This concludes part 15 of our discussion on the 7 medicines, the Wise Woman Way, with Susan Weed at Time Monk Radio.